90% of the sales calls that you're on is predetermined by the preparations that you do. So in this video, I'm going to teach you the 3 things that you can do that I can almost guarantee you that you 2x or 3x your close rate. And it doesn't require negotiation skills or sales hacks or verbal ninjutsu. And the coolest part is you can do this even before you get on the sales call. In order for you to have a successful, productive, fruitful sales call, there's a couple things I want to talk to you about and what you can do to make sure you have the very best opportunity to close the jobs that you're given. We know these opportunities don't come often. We want to give ourselves the best chances, right? Let me talk about a couple things. Number 1 is about how clients find you. How a client or prospect finds you is really critical to the dynamic that you're about to have. And so we need to work on our SEO, our lead gen, and all the kind of magnets that we create out there so that we're attracting the right kinds of person. Oftentimes we have unqualified leads, people who find you via search, via Google. They heard it from a rando. It just have no idea who you are, what you charge, or what makes you different. They just have a problem. They need a quick solution. This becomes problematic because you're going to waste a lot of time talking to them and feel like, God, I just lost another job, when in fact, they were never a good fit for you. So what you want to do is you need to pre-qualify your leads. There's a couple different ways you can do this depending on the size of your agency or studio. If you're one person band, what you need to do is put some things about who your clients are, what kind of money they want to spend, and the kinds of problems they're trying to solve. That way, when they find you on the internet, like, oh, I see, John solves these kinds of problems. John only works with Fortune 500 corporations or Series A startups or whatever it is that you want to talk about. So that way they can self-select. This is very important. So it's almost like you created a restaurant. You say, we only serve vegan options. So people don't come in and like, well, I noticed on the burger, there's not enough beef on the patty. And you're like, yeah, because it was only vegan. This is a vegan restaurant. And so this is what you need to do. You need to let people know who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. This is an important way to qualify or pre-qualify the people that are going to seek you out. Now, if you have a little extra human resources, you can have a person get on the phone and say, before we put you in touch with whoever runs the company, I have to ask you a couple of questions. Do you have this kind of budget? What is your timeline? What is the problem you're trying to solve? And that way they create a little buffer between you and every person who is a prospect. So we want to make sure that they're qualified before we move to the next level. There are a couple of things that you can do to pre-qualify to make sure the people that you actually talk to are a good fit for you and for them, because you don't want to waste anybody's time. Number 1 is you can do this on your sales page itself. You can just say, this is what we do, who you are, who you do work for, and what it costs, so that it can turn away anybody who's a poor fit. You can have a customer intake form or a lead form where you ask them some very specific questions. I would say no more than 5, because you're not trying to like interview a person for a job, just so that you can get the relevant information. And if it's not a good fit, you just say you don't meet the minimum requirements for somebody we consider taking on for a client. That way you don't have to schedule the call. Or you can have an appointment setter, a producer sales type of person who's on your team, or an independent contractor who can then be a buffer between you and the process to make sure it's worthwhile to get on a call. A sign of a seasoned, experienced person is that you know your customer, you know your customer's pain point, you know what their objections are going to be, and the objective. Those are very important things for you to know. So if you're new in business, you don't know who the customer is, or if you're poorly positioned, meaning you take on any kind of client, you have no idea what the problems are, what the objectives are going to be, and the objections to working with you. So this is an important thing. Number 1, if you're new in business and you haven't actually done a lot of work with clients, I want you just to try to use your creative, empathetic skills and to imagine who this person is. Are they a doctor, a lawyer, small to medium-sized business? Are they startup? Do they work in biotech? Whatever it is, just imagine your ideal customer type. What kind of problem are they trying to solve? What is creating pain in their life that you can make go away with the things that you do? So that's clear. Number 2, try to imagine from their point of view all the complaints or accusations or objections they're going to have in terms of working with you. This could be about price, it could be around timeline, it could be around your lack of experience. You could have too much experience. Your team's too small, your team's too big, your bench isn't deep enough. Whatever it is, write down a whole list of objections or accusations they're going to have with you, and then go back and circle the top 3 and start working on what the answers are going to be. I'll tell you how to deal with that in a second. So this is the problem. You know the objections of working with you. And then what are the objectives? What is the outcome that both of you want for getting on the phone in the first place? Many people make this mistake. They think, oh, I have to establish rapport. I want to be friends with the person. So then your objective is to be friends? That doesn't make any sense. All business calls are about business. It's about making sure that they get what they need and what you need. So you can write down on 2 columns, what do you think they need to accomplish on this call? And what do you need to accomplish on this call? I'm going to make some assumptions about what you need. You need to know the scope. What is it that need to get done? You need to know the timeline, the deadlines in which things need to get done by. And number 3, probably the most important, how much money do they want to invest to make this come to fruition? So when you start to design the conversation, you need to make sure you're going off on all these things. Now you can say then, what is the most important thing in terms of how we sequence it? Is it what is it they want to get done? How long they have to work on it? Or is it the money? And how you know this is if you get to the objective, what they want to accomplish, and the deadline, but then the budget isn't anywhere near what it is that you need to get started on this, then there's no point to understand the first 2. So the sequence might be, given that people who call us hire us for these kinds of things, like people like you hire us for these kinds of things, the budget range is usually between this amount and that amount. It could be between 10,000 and 30,000. Is that something that you prepare to spend? Is this an investment you're ready to make? Great. Well, I need to know a little bit more about the deadline and then the scope. And it's usually in that order, because if they have the money, but the deadline's impossible, there's no point to talk about scope. Now, you might be realizing something right now, which is, oh my God, all I do is talk about scope. That's all I do. We're doing this in the wrong sequence. There's no point to talk about scope if they can't afford it and the timeline's impossible. You're not a magician. You can't turn straw into gold. So this is not going to work. So you need to then get off the phone, because they deserve to get off the phone and find the right partner who can do this. And if it's not you, do not waste any more of their time. And if you're paying attention, if you had followed the first part of what I said, you wouldn't even be here in the first place, because these are unqualified leads. Probably one of the most important things that you need to do to prepare for any sales call to give yourself the best shot of closing the gig is your state of mind. This is really, really important, and I cannot emphasize this enough. When you come to any engagement with an abundance mindset, you're not going to act in a state of desperation. You're not going to act needy. Nothing is more repelling than someone who's needy, who's clingy, who's desperate for the work. In fact, we want that which we cannot have. It's why the attractive person is so desirable for you. It's why the home that's never on sale in the market, when it goes on market, that everybody's bidding after it, or why certain luxury goods, luxury cars, whatever it is, there's a premium for those things because they're not so easily available. This is something you want to take into consideration. So if you have to meditate, if you have to say positive affirmations, if you have to just double check to make sure you're in that right place of mind to be of service to people without being needy, you're going to set the right tone. They're going to feel your energy, the frequency that you put out, and they're going to want to work with you even more. Let's get specific, because you're probably rolling your eyes when I said meditate or like have some positive affirmations. You want to be as confident as possible entering in a call. It's going to set you in the right state of mind. My belief is that confidence comes from one's own abilities in your skill sets. So do you believe that you are qualified for this? Do you have the body of work? Have you put in the repetitions? If you have, lean on that. You might review your portfolio. You might look at some of the best projects that you've done recently to say like, wow, we did a great job. We were able to help the clients achieve those objectives, and review that over and over in your mind. So you're like, yes, I'm ready. And the mindset that I go into it is, I know I'm better than anybody that the clients can hire. They just have to be smart enough to pay me so that I can share my gift with them. That's what I tell myself. And gosh darn it, you're good looking and people like you. Here's a little trick that you can do in case like all these things don't work. Meditation, looking at your work. If you just look at yourself from the eyes of other people, you'll believe what you need to believe. You'll learn something about yourself. So one thing that you can do is read the testimonials that clients have given you. And if they've recorded audio recordings or video where they've given you a testimonial, cut those up and put them on a loop and just listen to them. You got to stop all that negative self-talk, everybody. Just believe what people already see in you, and then you can realign and you can project the right kinds of energy. And I want to say this, I know it's really weird. I'm not a woo-woo mystic kind of person, but people feel enthusiasm. And if you enter the call, like, I'm a happy person, I'm happy to talk to you, I'm happy to serve you. And if I'm not the right fit, I'm also happy for you to find the right person for you. That kind of stuff makes people joyful. There's a term that neurobehavioral psychologists use. It's called mirroring. It's a very powerful concept. And you'll see this phenomenon happen too. When you smile, when you laugh, the other person smiles inside their mind. They might not be outwardly smiling and laughing, but this happens all the time. It's why when you're watching a TikTok video and there's a lot of laughter and you hear laugh track, you feel happier inside because you can't help it but to mirror. And I think think the science behind this is, as social creatures, we have to be able to connect and bond. And this is one of the things that happens automatically. That's why when you're also around a group of people that are really scared about what's happening, you are also on edge yourself. You don't want to bring that kind of energy into it because no one wants to hire someone who's scared, nervous, and anxious. It creates anxiety in them. They start to doubt their own decisions. Are you the right person? Are you safe to spend the money with? Are you reliable and trustworthy? Don't do that. Enter in with a positive state of mind. Be happy because that energy is infectious. If you apply these 3 principles even before you get on a sales call, you're going to have a lot more success. And if you've enjoyed this, you're going to want to check out this other video for a deeper dive.